All right, guys. Well, there are 7 properties that hit the market today here in South Florida. Let's review them all and see which ones could make us money and which ones, well, they're just losers. That said, you could see them right here. There is a triplex, a fourplex, a duplex, a triplex, a duplex, and then this one weird one that says multifamily. I'm guessing it might be commercial multifamily, and that's why they just listed it that way. But with that being said, I like to sort these by price per square foot. As if you've been watching before, it's the most interesting way to kind of go through these. So starting off with a $700 price per square foot, again, it's either anything that is above $400 a square price per square foot, right? It just doesn't really make sense in my experience. Now, there could be listings where there's errors in the square feet. And so that could totally, the reason that we review them all, you might think like, well, why don't you just skip all the ones above $400? And it's because you'd be surprised how many times real estate agents down here in Miami could make mistakes in their listings, right? Even if you're really careful, there's a lot of fields to fill out, actually. A lot of fields that I think could be filled out by AI, to be honest. Even not by AI, like just like random, like it's just really obvious information. But anyway, when it gets to the important things that they really should make realtors fill in, like square feet, rents, right, especially for income producing properties, they just don't really ask them. And they don't really verify things either. So anyway, that's a whole different video. But that being said, we check everything because we never know if there's a mistake. So, and we don't want to miss a good deal, especially if they mislisted. That's a great opportunity to find good deals because people might just discard it and then we find it. Anyway, long story short, this is the first property that we're going to look at. By the way, guys, the market right now, there's, again, if you haven't seen these before, log into the other videos, but it's basically a 1-to-1 ratio right now of the amount of homes that are hitting the market and the amount of sellers that are calling their agents and decreasing the price of their homes. So when you see a property today, if it's like close to being an A or it's close to being a B, and that's kind of like the buy box that you want to stay in, right? Keep in mind that the probability that the price will go down, that the seller will negotiate a price lower than what he's actually listing for is damn high, okay? Especially right now, again, for every home that's hitting the market, another one is dropping its price, okay? And yeah, interest rates are kind of like highish. So sellers are not seeing as many buyers because of the same reason. Interest rates are just higher than they what we would want them to be. So all that being said, let's start taking a look at this first property here. All right, and it's a $1,460,000 property. Okay, and taxes are paying $14,798 a year in taxes. Interest rate is what it is. That's the 30-year fixed average for that's the 1 week average for the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, okay, in the United States. Square feet wise, 1,902 square feet, okay, and they do tell us how much you're collecting in rent, and it's 7,625. And now, before I press enter here, guys, what's 1% of 1.46 million? It's $14,000, $600, and all they're collecting is $7,600. That's pretty much half of what they should be collecting, right? So it's not going to look pretty. This is not going to be a good deal unless there's some kind of errors here in the listing. Let's take a quick look at the pictures. Maybe we can make a little bit more sense of this property. Maybe they're under renting it. Maybe we could just easily come in here and rent it for more. It looks like a nice property. It's got the mini splits, which I'm not a fan of. But apart from that, it's really pretty. Okay, let's take a look at the listing here. And in the meantime, I'm going to press enter on the calculator. So you can see this pretty much ends up being a half of a 1% property. And that's not where we want to be, right? So 0.52, okay, instead of 1. And you can see the rents here. So it's a 4 1-bedroom, 1 bath, okay? And the cheapest one is being rented at $1,800 and the most expensive at $2,000, okay? So let's grab our notebooks to take notes of this property and see which ones actually make more sense and which ones could cash flow, okay? So you got to keep your little notebook here because otherwise when you go calling agents, you got to have your notes. Can't be like, hey, let me scroll through the video and see what this guy said. So Okay. Where were we? All right, this is a $1.46 million fourplex. And we said that this property is actually in Broward County. And right now it's collecting $7,600, $7,625 in rent. Well, guys, that return of investment is going to give you at best a 6.4% return on investment. Okay. And now, well, look, does it make sense? All right. Fort Lauderdale, a 1-1. Can you rent it out really for $2,000? This is what the math says. This is what the median say. I did a whole market analysis and I looked at every single property and I found out what the maxes were, what the lowest rents were, and what the median rents were. And I found out the max for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and multifamily in Broward County is $2,600. This is like right by the water, right? And the median is about $1,600. Given the condition of this property, the fact that it's in Fort Lauderdale, right? It looks pretty nice. I'm not going to say that it's impossible to get at least for $2,000, but it would be a little difficult. And that's why he has it at 1,800, at 2,000, at 2,000, right? He has the rents, right? So 1,900, 1,800, 1,925, and 2,000. Let's say you really knock it out of the park and you're able to rent 2 of them at $2,000, right? And then, I don't know, 2 of them at 1,900, right? Then the most that you could really collect here is maybe just a little bit more money, 7,800 instead of 7,625. Let's see if this property, this settler is in distress, to see if there's anything that, we could really press this guy on a price because he has to sell, but it doesn't appear that that's the case. Now, what's a realistic price drop? Being that this guy's so far off the mark, I think taking off a whole 10%, 150,000, right, more or less, would totally make sense. And that would bring the price down to 131, right? So $1,310,000. But even if we were to reduce the price by 150K, which is a good chunk, right? The best return that this property could give you, I mean, it's a 0.6% property. It would just pay its mortgage just by itself. But the best return this property could give you at that point, if you're able to increase the rents, you're able to drop the price 150K, the best it's going to do for you is going to be a 7.7. And I mean, that just doesn't make sense. Just invest in the S&P at that point, right? So, right. That being said, this property is a hard discard, right? Get rid of this property. Let's look at the next one. All right, next up, it's a $1.195 million triplex in Miami-Dade. They're currently paying $10,594 a year in taxes. Square feet, 2,664 square feet. And let's see, total rents. They said that they're collecting $6,100 in rents. So let's put 0 here, 0 there, 0 there, 0 there. They said they're collecting $6,100 a month in rent. And guys, again, you don't have to be like brain surgeons. This is pretty much a 0.5% property, right? It's the same thing. So we could go through it, guys. Again, I think that let's look at the quality of the property. It's really pretty. The roof looks okay. Property looks okay. It's close to the water. It could be a great area, but it's just okay. 3 independent roofs. So it's 3 different, one's a flat roof, the other one are regular roofs. Okay, so you get 3 properties in one. They should be able to get more rent, right? It's easy to dismiss this property, but all right, it's $1.2 million basically. And it is a triplex and it's in Miami-Dade, all right? And let's see the guts of this deal. What's the makeup of this? It's a 3-1, a 3-1, and a 1-1, okay? Now the 3-1, they say that they're renting it for $2,500. Could we get more money for that? All right. Well, a 3-1, $2,500, they should be getting more. And this is where maybe this property can make a little bit more sense. Okay, because given the area, okay, and let's see, did we get conditions of the units on the inside? Let's see. Let's look at the condition of the units. Okay, so this is very mid. Very, very mid product, okay? Yeah, So great location, but just very, very mid product. Let me just leave you here with this so you can see, right? But with this very, very mid product, the best rents that we could probably get are going to be median at least, just because the area is good, okay? And a 3-1 could rent for $2,700. And I think that that's basically what each house is. A 3-1, a 3-1, and a 1-1, so 2,700. So actually, they are collecting right now 6,100. And that obviously is not going to make sense. The best return there is going to be a 6.1. Okay. Now the best rents that you could possibly get here are going to be, let's say, the 2,700 that I just mentioned. 2,700, 2,700. And then the 1-1 could get you a median of, yeah, like 1,600, 1,650. So 1,650. Okay. Of 7,000. I think that they're leaving some money on the table, about $1,000, $950 on the table. But it's not bad. Now, is this guy in distress? Does he need to sell it? Is there like, if we look at the folio number, will he owe back taxes? And no, he doesn't. So not in huge distress, right? At least not apparently. And what do I think that this guy could probably take off his price? Probably like the same thing, $1.2 million or $120,000. So maybe this guy brings it down to like 1,075, right? And if we could do that, if we could decrease the price by 150K on this one as well, the best return here is actually going to be 8.8. So it's better than the last property, but still below the S&P. It just doesn't make sense. We're going to go ahead, discard this one, and we will keep looking. All right, this next one up is a triplex in Broward County. The price is 1.59 million, so 1.6 million. It is a triplex. It's in Broward. And they said they're collecting $10,000 a month in rent. All right, so that's not bad. But I think it's too much money still, this property. So 1.590,123. Okay, taxes, $17,286 a year in taxes. Not good. Square feet, it's big, 3,569 square feet. Good size. All right, and they said they're collecting $10,000 a month in taxes. Sorry, $10,000 a month in rent. It'd be nice to collect taxes, wouldn't it? The government has a nice little setup there. All right, flood zone, A, E, and X. So you're going to pay a bit of a premium there, and flood insurance. And they said they collect $10,000. Let's put it up here. $10,000 a month in taxes. I put 100. All right, 10,000. Let's look at the quality of the property. And you guys can see it's a nice property. I mean, this looks really gorgeous. Wow. Well done property. Yeah, gorgeous. Are you kidding me? And it's a triplex. Isn't that crazy? All right, let's look at the guts of this deal. One of a kind lakefront triplex in Lake Ridge, offering nearly 3,500 square feet under air, highly versatile layout, yada, yada, yada. So it's a 2-2, a 2-2, and a studio. Now, these prices seem really, really high, guys. Okay? Even if it is a legit multifamily, and even if it's in front of a lake. Okay? Yeah, and it's legit. It's a legit triplex. Okay. Well, a 2-2, all right? They say that the 2-2 is bringing in $3,000 a month. They say that the another 2-2 is bringing in $5,000 a month. And then they say that the studio is bringing in $2,000 a month. Now, this is as pretty as it gets, right? So you could give them the highest rents here. But guys, even a 2-2 for $5,000, this property, again, this property is in Broward County. Okay, it's in Fort Lauderdale. But you could get a two-bedroom, two-bath condo with an ocean view for about $5,000 a month. So would you rather live in this beautiful, triplex, and it is gorgeous, or would you rather live with an ocean view? I don't know, guys. I don't think that somebody would actually pay, $5,000 a month to live in a triplex. When you can live beachfront. By the way, when I say like condo, I mean beachfront condo. So I don't buy that the rents could be that high. Okay. I think that, let's look at here, a 2-bedroom, 1 bath in Broward County, the maximum is about $3,000. Okay. So not, I'll give him a $3,000, but not 5 grand. I think that the reality here is that not that he's collecting $10,000. Instead, the reality is more that he's collecting $8,000. Okay. But still, the price that he's asking for the property is so high that even if he were to get these rents, okay, for this kind of a property, all right, it still would not give you good returns, right? The best returns in this case here are going to see what you see here, an 8% return. And compared to the S&P, that just doesn't make sense, okay? Now, if you could, now the worst part here is that you're going to actually have to reduce this price to 3 grand here too, right? And all of a sudden your real returns are going to drop, right? 5.7% at best. Now, what can you negotiate off the price? Let's say you negotiate $160,000 off the price. Now you end up at 146, right? I don't think that this guy would actually take off more money than that off the price, right? Then the best return possible at $8,000 and dropping 160K is going to be a 6.1%, and that makes it the worst property we've seen so far today. So again, I don't think that this guy would sell it, taking off more than $160,000. But for that reason, even if you did that, and even if you got the real rents, this property doesn't make sense. So we're going to go ahead and discard it, and we're down to 4 properties. All right. Now this one is a $730,000 duplex. Okay, and it is in Broward. Taxes, $9,156 a year in taxes is what they're paying. 2,002 square feet and collecting $4,000 a month in rent. Okay, so let's put this information up on the board. 730. Okay, taxes, 9,156 square feet, 2,002. All right, and rents, they are collecting $4,000 in rents. And guys, that shows you right there, $4,000 in rents, okay? Sorry, 4K. The best return there is going to be a 5.9% return, and that's worse than the S&P, way worse than the S&P. So we're going to go ahead. This property is not going to make sense unless there's an error in the listing. So let's take a look. All right. Wow, this is below mid. Look at this. Who wants to live with those floors? I'd be depressed. Yeah, box ACs everywhere. Yeah, so the very pink Miami bathroom, right? Just no bueno. All right, let's look. And they want to sell this for $760,000. They're nuts. Hollandale Beach, goodness gracious. Okay, wonderful corner duplex that needs serious renovations. So a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. They're saying that they could get $2,000 for each one of them. But the reality, guys, that this property, I don't even think that they could get that. In reality, look, Broward County. Right, the median rents for a 2-1 is $1,960. This apartment is clearly below what I would say is median type quality. Okay, I would say that this apartment is, I mean, granted, that's at 4K, it's making a 5.9% return. I think that the real rents here are going to be maybe, let's see, I don't think that this guy gets more than $1,750 for those. Okay, and that, I think I'm being generous, just for the quality. So I don't think that this property really makes more than $3,500 a month. Now, you could probably drop the price on this property. I don't know if this guy's in some sort of tax prom. Let's look at the folio number here. He's not. Okay. So with that being said, the question becomes, how much do you think they could drop the price? Let's say you drop the price about $70,000, close to 10%. Okay. Now you're at $660. Okay. And the best return that this property is going to provide you with the right rents is going to be about $3,500. Which is $3,500 a month, right? And a price drop of, what did we say? 70 grand. The best return is going to be 5.5%. And that's a new best of the worst, or worst of the worst properties for today. Man. All right. Well, let's discard it. And we're down to the last 3 properties, guys. And this is where we start getting into the $300 per price range, per square foot range. And that's where we start seeing the good deal. So stick around. Let's see what we find. $649,000, right? for this Miami-Dade duplex. They're currently paying $10,003 a year in taxes, square feet, 1,847 square feet. And the rent, they said they're collecting $3,800 a month in rent. Again, that's pretty crappy. Okay. But let's say they made a mistake. All right, flood zone X is the best flood zone we could be in. Let's look at the quality. I like the little American flag, but the inside's dated. The floor, looks dated too. It's okay. It's messy, but it's just okay. What happened here? Was there like a water damage? Look at this weird light. Look at the ceiling. Like, is this real? It's like an Oompa Loompa house. Yeah. Look here, guys. Look how low it is here. Okay, so is this a single family home really? Let's take a look at the guts of this deal, see what we could figure out. No, it's multifamily. It's zone multifamily and everything. So it's a 2-1 and a 2-1. So it's 2-2-1s. Okay. Yeah, that's weird. So 649, let's write this down. 649 duplex in Miami-Dade, right? And the rents as is, they say that they are getting, so they're saying that there's more, that there's a 3-1, a 2-1, and a 1-1. That the 3-1 is getting 1,400. They're saying that the 2-1 is getting 1,200. And maybe that 1-1, which is that tiny little studio, is getting 1,200. And that they're all on a month-to-month. Okay? Well, at $3,800, and if they want $649 for that house, the return here is going to be a 6% return on investment. Okay? Again, this is going to be a less than 1% kind of a property. As a matter of fact, it'll be about half of that. And at that point, the rent would not pay the mortgage. But could you collect more? Well, here's the interesting part, that in Miami-Dade, the median 3-bedroom, 1-bath could rent for $2,700. And the cheapest one that I saw when I did this was actually renting for $1,700. So I think that there's definitely space here for it to improve, even though the property does look older and one of them looks like an Oompa Loompa room. Okay, I think that you could at least get maybe $2,000 for the 3-1. So let's put that here because I think that you might be able to increase the rents here. All right, a 2-1, they're saying that they're renting for $1,200. Well, look, again, in Miami-Dade, a 2-1, the median is $2,300. So let's at least give them the $1,900, I think, make more sense here. And now that 1-1, which is that Oompa Loompa room, definitely less than $1,600. I would say $1,200. That's fine, right? But that would mean that the rents are actually closer to $5,100 here. Now, this guy doesn't look like he's going to be in some sort of distress when it comes to taxes. Let's take a double look. No, he's not. All right. And what's realistic that we drop the price on this guy? I think that realistically we could drop another being that there's it just looks so weird, you could drop like another 70 grand from this, like a little bit more than 10%. So that would leave us at 580. And if we could actually do that, right, and increase those rents, then this property could be actually like a little bit of a diamond in the rough. Okay, even with a little weird Oompa Loompa room, okay, this property, if you're actually able to drop 70K off the purchase price and increase those rents by about $1,300, it could give you a return as good as 13.2%, which is good enough for a C. Like, it's not the best of properties, but it's something to keep in your back pocket because maybe you're able to negotiate further with this guy, and maybe you're able to find out that you could even get real median rents for this property. And if you got real median rents for a 3-1, well, a 3-1's real median rents are $2,700. And the real median rents for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath are $2,300. And if you're able to do that, this becomes almost a 1% kind of property with amazing returns. So it could be 13.2%, but as good perhaps as 31.5%. And this is where it's really important, guys, for you guys to go out there and to do your homework, do your due diligence, ask your real estate agent to go ahead and pull the rents for the comparables in the area, okay, for within the 10th of a mile for the last, 3 months. If there's no data, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year, it doesn't matter, right? Get the information for the rents in the area and make sure that the pictures look like these, right? Because you don't want to compare something that is gorgeous to this, because then your information is going to be skewed. Okay, so that being said, This property could be something to consider. All right, let's keep looking and see if one of the next ones also makes sense. Okay, next up on cheapness per price per square foot is a $579,000 duplex in Broward County. They are paying $8,748 a year in taxes, square feet wise. Okay, it's 1,814. It is not that big, guys, but they are collecting, they say, $4,000 a month in rent. So what would that look like on the 1% rule, guys? You guys want to take a guess? Whoops, let's see right here. Well, it would be a 0.7, right? Instead of a 1%, it'll be a 0.7%, right? And that's just basically enough to warrant, further consideration. You can see that at 0.7%, it kind of starts paying for itself with a DSCR loan. So let's take a look at the pictures, guys, and see what it looks like. Look at the quality of the product. Well, it's really cute. I'm surprised. It's really nice. Even though it looks like, like wood paneling, I'm not a fan of that because then termites and all kinds of other stuff. It looks really pretty. Central AC. It's cute. It's one of those that you probably see in person and it looks even more charming. Got to be careful. Look at this. You see this this tile here? That's more than likely asbestos tile. I mean, just from experience, right? That could be asbestos tile. So just be careful with that. But it's in Broward County, so it's in Hollywood. Okay, and they say that it's a 1-1 rented at $4,000 and that the 2-1 isn't rented. Okay, but they say that the 1-1 is rented for $4,000. Now that's got to be Airbnb, and yep, it's right here, Airbnb. All right, so that's not the rent that you're gonna get. Now a 1-1, how much does that rent for? All right, in Broward County, a 1-1 $1,600. That's more like it. And now the 2-1, okay, a 2-1 could rent for about $1,960. So the best rents that they're actually going to get here are going to be $3,560. And I think that the quality ends up being like a median kind of quality, okay? Maybe he could get a little bit more, but that's why he's renting it via Airbnb, because so you could get $4,000. But I'll tell you what, for what he wants, which is $580,579, this duplex in Broward County, right, wouldn't even make sense, even if he was collecting $4,000, right? Look at that, $4,000. The best return on investment scenario here is going to be an 8%, which is terrible. All right. Now, the reality is that he's collecting less, which means that your return is going to be less. Now, how much could you take off the price here? Maybe you could take off maybe you convince that this guy that, hey, listen, man, this property is not going to get that much. I'll give you $500. Call it a day, right? And if he's able to take down the $79K completely off, right, the property would only make you a 7.6% return, which, I mean, I think it's improbable that he'll drop the price that much. But even if he did, why fight for it? Because at best is going to give you something way below the S&P, right? So for that reason, I would go ahead and discard this property too. And that leaves us with one last property for today. It's a $1,325,000 multifamily. It doesn't say what kind it is. In Broward County, they're paying $23,491 a year in taxes. That's a chunk of change, but it is also a big property, 4,252 square feet. Now, let's see. Let's look at the pictures, see what we find. It's really cute. It's really nice. Okay. Close to the river there, but there's like warehouses in the back. But, you know, for somebody that lives in the area, they might want to have a house nearby. Very simple, huge garage. Man, that garage, yeah, I would just convert that and make this duplex bigger. Oh yeah, all that stuff under legit roof, I would just make this bigger. What is this? Multifamily, but they don't say what it is. All right, let's look at this. 10-unit investment property in a bustling urban core, minutes away from downtown, yada, yada, yada. All right. Well, unfortunately, guys, they don't tell us it's 10 units and they want $1 million for it. This is really interesting, guys. Because think about this. They want 1.325 million. It's 10 units. Let's just assume that it's 10 1-1s, okay? 10 1-1s in Broward County, each one renting, let's say like at the minimum equals 10 times 1150. And I think that this could rent for more than the minimum, okay? 1150. That means that the property could at least collect $11,000 a month. And if that's the case, guys, the property is looking damn good. Damn good. So, man, I'm going to call tomorrow. This property looks pretty freaking awesome. Because that's if the rents are just 1-1s and it's like bad condition. If these rents are like, median type rents, then this property could be a killer property. Okay. 1.21% on the 1% rule, okay? DSCR through the roof. This property would cash flow on day one, no matter what you use, and even with these crazy high interest rates, okay? So now that being said, this property is a commercial multifamily, but I mean, this could be a potential huge find. So again, this is in Broward. It's a 10 unit. And we don't really know what the rents are. So rents are unknown, but we think that it could be anywhere as good as, what was it? Let's see, 11.5K to maybe as good as 16K, right? Yeah. Now, is this guy in some sort of distress? Why is he selling the property? Let's see. Property has 7 units, including one 4-bedroom main house, 4 1-bedrooms, and 1 studio, all renovated with new vinyl flooring. Well, there you go, guys. There are the actual rents, okay? Has 7 units, including, but it says a working 10-unit investment. Yeah, so we got to call tomorrow to figure this out, but this looks like it could be a potentially amazing property. All right, so with that being said, guys, this property could be as good as, let's see, we looked at it, $16,000 a month in rent. This property's return on investment could be as good as 60%. Okay, that's like an A plus. Okay, 59.6%. All right, legendary investors don't make that kind of. That's like 3 times what Warren Buffett has averaged over the last 30 years, and you could lock in a deal like that. Can you imagine if these numbers are right? Okay, we could get an investment of that type. You'd look like a genius in front of all your friends. So call your real estate agent. Make sure to go out, look at this property. Pretty freaking awesome. We waited the best one. We saved the best one for last today, right? That's awesome. So with that being said, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully we find more good deals.